Welcome back to the Scoring from the 50 podcast. I'm Drew Smith, here to talk about the week 2 games that just happened. We're also going to preview the week coming up in week 3. We've got a lot of big games coming up. I can't wait to get to those. First, I have a few games from this weekend that I do want to react to. We had a big weekend in college football, a big rivalry game back in KU versus Mizzou, big rivalry in the Cy-Hawk. You got Iowa State and Iowa. You got South Florida beating Florida. You got Michigan and Oklahoma. You got Baylor and SMU. I'm not even listing them all. There's another one. You got Illinois and Duke. That was another big game. So many big games all across the weekend. Again, this is one of those weekends where you kind of thought, there isn't a lot of games, good games on the schedule. There isn't a lot. But those are the weekends that come up and bite you. Those are the weekends that casuals, they're not watching. But us, here on the Scoring from the 50 podcast, we watch these games. We know what these weekends are, right? We know the weekends that look like that are going to be fun. All right. So first up, I do want to talk about this SMU and Baylor game that Baylor ended up winning 48-45 in overtime. Kevin Jennings for SMU went 16 for 22, 295 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. He played pretty good, especially the first, what's 60 minus 4? 56 minutes. Played pretty good. The whole team for SMU played pretty good for the first 56 minutes. TJ Harden had 115 yards on 19 carries, 3 touchdowns. Romello Brinson had 126 yards, 2 touchdowns. SMU only had 1 sack. Isn't the best defensively, but they gave up 48 points, so obviously they're not going to look good on defense. SMU let this game slip away late. It was tough to watch. They were up 14 with about 8 minutes left, I want to say. 8 or 8 minutes left. It was one of those two. Did not look good. I was watching it on the multi-view while the Iowa State and Iowa game was on my main TV, so I was kind of checking in every once in a while. Tough game. Tough watch for SMU. Where do they go from here? Right? That's a game that they should have won on home field. They're going to ACC play, not feeling great anymore. I feel like if you lose to a team like Baylor, who's not even like a top 3 team in the Big 12, they might be now, because K-State looks horrible. They lost to Army this weekend. They almost lost to North Dakota the weekend before. K-State doesn't look good. So I think maybe Baylor's taking that spot of K-State. You got Arizona State. They also lost to Mississippi State. Tough weekend for the Big 12. Except for Baylor. Baylor played good. But yeah, if you're losing to teams like Baylor who aren't even at the top of the Big 12, I feel like that's going to be pretty iffy for SMU if they want to get back to the playoff. But getting to the playoff last year, it's a huge success for Rhett Lashley. I think he's going to have a really good season this year, just not as good as last season. It's hard to expect consistency from SMU like that, especially coming up to a power conference like they did last year. It's tough to continue that. I think what they did last year was incredibly impressive, and I believe in Rhett Lashley going forward just because of that. But that's a game that you had no business losing. You have to win a game like that. You have to be able to put away a team like Baylor. They're just not to that level of a team that's acceptable to blow a lead. Like, if you're Troy playing Clemson, it's okay to blow a lead like that because it's Clemson. You're supposed to lose by a lot. It was a miracle that you were up that much to begin with. So if you're SMU, you're a playoff team last year. You're playing a team who wasn't close to making the playoff last year. That's a team you have to put away. But, you got to give all the credit in the world to Baylor. Sawyer Robertson went 34 for 50 with 440 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Josh Cameron through the air, 151 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. Ashton Hawkins, 145 yards and 10 catches. And then even on the ground, Kobe Prentice with 63 yards and 2 touchdowns. Just all around great performance from Baylor, right? Especially those last few minutes coming back from down 14 that late in the game. Again, SMU has no business losing that game. Baylor has no business winning that game, right? You got to give all the credit in the world to Dave Aranda. He looked great. It was just insane comeback for Baylor, right? Just crazy. They are now in a position to where they can succeed in the Big 12, and I think winning a game like that has to give them a lot of confidence. After losing a game that it could be argued that they shouldn't have lost against Auburn, they outgained Auburn, right? They were arguably the better team. Just turnovers got to them, and you cannot do that against a team like Auburn, and they will beat you, and they did. So going into Big 12 play, again, K-State isn't what we thought they were. They might be, but maybe the Ireland game threw them off. That's my excuse because I think I would have picked them to win the Big 12 if I made picks. So it's my excuse for believing them. And believing in a school that's close to me. It was just the Ireland game. Baylor is going to be really good. I think they're in a really good spot to compete for the Big 12. They're definitely going to be a top 5 team at least. And, I mean, so if Sawyer Robertson keeps playing like he just did, he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12 for sure. Moving on from that game, I do want to make sure that I talk about this Iowa and Iowa State game. I mean, what a game that was. That was kind of boring to watch, but I loved it. It was classic Cyhawk game. 16-13 was the final score. Mark Gronowski had 13 for 24, 83 yards and a pick. He did have a rushing touchdown. He just looked uncomfortable. Like, he looked like he was second-guessing himself. There was nothing down the field for him. I mean, there were just no routes. There weren't anything that was available down the field because they didn't try to throw down the field. Everything was short. Everything was to the sticks and back. Didn't look good. Not a progressive Iowa offense. I mean, it's an Iowa offense. You can't really expect much from them, but I mean, you feel like you got to at least try to throw the ball downfield, right? You got someone like Mark Gronowski. He's one of the best players in FCS history. You have to be able to give him the chance to throw the ball downfield. Just try it. Why not? What's the worst that can happen? He throws a pick like he did 10 yards from the line of scrimmage? I mean, you just have to be able to get him more comfortable and give him an opportunity to go be Mark Gronowski and go make a play. Get his legs more involved. He had a rushing touchdown, but he didn't have very many yards. He didn't look very good. The running game was decent. I think the running backs played okay. They did have 131 yards. It just felt like this game was lost because, number one, they didn't throw it downfield, right? They didn't try. But special teams, it was an odd game from an Iowa special teams unit who's usually one of the best in the country. Punting wasn't great. I mean, there was 2 or 3 shake punts that did not look good. And then you had their returner running like 15 yards backwards to get the ball on the 5-yard line, and you throw a penalty on the top of that, and it was at the 2.5-yard line. Just a horrible miscue from their special teams, which you don't see a lot from Iowa. Iowa wins games on special teams. They need to be better in that situation. They need to be better on special teams in general. I mean, punting is Iowa's thing. How is Iowa going to be bad at punting? I think they'll get that figured out just because that's Iowa. They'll figure out their punting game. But we'll see. I mean, that was definitely concerning for Iowa. I don't think that they're in a spot to compete for the Big Ten or anything. I think they're going to be a top 5 team at most, really. I don't think the offense is all that good. I don't think the special teams is all that good. The defense did look pretty good. I mean, it's tough to stop Rocco Beck. They limited him to 18 for 27, 134 yards and a touchdown. Abu Sama and Carson Hansen did combine for 93 yards, so not a ton on the run game. I will say, Iowa State's pass rush stepped up in a big way against Iowa. Okay, late in the game, they got like 2 or 3 sacks late in the game to seal it, and it was absolutely huge for Iowa State, right? They played really complimentary. I mean, I can't say much more than that. I mean, nothing wowed me from Iowa State, but that's a good thing. There weren't any, oh my, that's a horrible mistake. Like, none of those moments. There weren't any, like, crazy moments. But to beat a team like Iowa, to beat teams in the Big 12, you don't have to have one of those. I think Iowa State is going to be probably the favorite from here on out to win the Big 12, especially after Arizona State lost this weekend. Kansas State lost this weekend again. Baylor, I think Iowa State and Baylor might honestly be the top 2 teams in the conference right now. So we'll see where Iowa State goes from here. I mean, Iowa didn't look good at all. Like I said, I mean, they're looking at maybe a 7 to 8 win season at best, which is not good for Iowa. I think they should be a lot better with how good their defense has been in the past. They need to be a lot better than 7 or 8 wins. I think they just need to figure out how to get an offense. I don't understand how Iowa's offense looks the exact same every year. They kind of got Gronowski going in the third quarter. They had a few of those Wake Forest-ish slow mesh play action RPO type plays that looked pretty good. Gronowski looked comfortable on those. But outside of that, not good. Receivers weren't open. Gronowski didn't look comfortable. The play calling wasn't good. There was nothing downfield. All of it was short. You just got to be better if you're Iowa, right? I feel like you have to be better on the defense. The defense was all right, but you can be better. I think you can slow down their run game more, especially whenever you know how bad the offense always is. The defense needs to be better. The special teams was not good. They need to be better. The offense just needs any sort of life. They need some sort of big play, which they have none of. They got to get that figured out if they really want to compete in the Big Ten, which I think they could. I think Mark Gronowski's a really good quarterback. He was really good at South Dakota. Or maybe it was South Dakota State. I'm not sure. It's one of those two. I think it was South Dakota State, yeah, because he won 2 90s. So He's really good. I think they have the opportunity to be really good this year. They just need to figure out their offense, get some big plays going. Now, some team who did have some big plays is the Illinois Fighting Illini. Okay, Luke Altmaier, 22 for 31, 296 yards, 3 touchdowns. Hank Betty went 128 yards on 8 catches, 25-yard rushing touchdown as well for Hank Betty. This was a really good win. They won 45-19 against Duke. That's a we're here statement from Illinois, right? I mean, they have an easy schedule in the Big Ten out of almost anybody, right? They are primed to make a run the rest of the way. I think they will. I think they're set up really well to go in and win games. They have Ohio State coming to town. That's their biggest game. In a few weeks, I think I want to say October, November, somewhere around there. I cannot wait for that game. I think that's going to be Illinois' opportunity. Like Indiana played Ohio State last year, and it was a big game. That's another big game. Kind of along the similar lines where, like, Indiana wasn't that good. Indiana just had a good record, easy schedule. They were good enough to beat the teams that they played, but not good enough to scale against really good teams, right? I think Illinois is probably in a very similar situation. I think you kind of see the same season play out for them from here on out, especially with such a big win over a pretty good Duke team. I mean, I think Duke is a team that could kind of compete for an ACC, kind of be around an SMU level, like be around a 3 or a 4. I think, or I'd say probably 4 or 5, because I think you got 3 that have kind of broken away. Florida State, Miami, and Clemson, who are the big 3 that have always been in that conference. So I think they'll be around an SMU level. I like Darian Mensah, but he was very, very turnover prone today. He had he had 2 touchdowns, 334 yards, 23 for 34 through the air, but he had an interception and he had 2 fumbles. I mean, you got to learn to hold on to the football. I know it was probably the defensive line getting in there or something, hitting him while he's throwing it. It isn't completely his fault, but I mean, Duke has got to limit the turnovers. I do want to shout out to Andrew Anthony's because he's a former Michigan Wolverine. So he did have 5 catches, 58 yards with 2 touchdowns. He looked pretty good. But Duke has just got to get the turnovers cleaned up. I mean, that was horrible. If they can get that turned off, I think that they'll be a team that can maybe possibly compete for the ACC. I think if they would have won this game, they could have for sure competed for the ACC. But it's going to be a little bit iffy now, kind of rough looking into conference play. But again, I mean, you look across the conference, yeah, Florida State's good, but SMU just lost to Baylor in a horrible way. So, we'll see. I think Duke's going to be pretty good. I just think they need to clean up the turnovers, right? I mean, it seems simple, but I mean, you watched Notre Dame last year. They won so many games because they could turn over the ball. It was like something you expected to not work one of these games, but it never didn't work until the national championship game. But, I mean, just a crazy good win for Illinois. I really like what they're building over there. I think they're going to be really good. They could very easily compete for a playoff spot. I think they're going to be ranked top 10 now. We'll see where they go from here. But that was a huge win for the Fighting Illini. They're primed for a big run to the college football playoff and through the Big Ten this year. Can't wait to see what Brett Bielema can do for that team. Now, moving on, the biggest rivalry game of my lifetime, because, I'm from Kansas City. You got the Chiefs logo right there. I have waited my entire life to watch this game. I was 4 years old the last time they played this game. I don't remember it. I didn't even like sports whenever I was 4 years old. I was a NASCAR guy. See if you can't tell. See that little car right there, that orange and yellow car? I had that little tiny thing when I was a kid, and I used to smash it into things. That's all I cared about when I was 4 years old, right? Now, I'm a college football guy. If you can't tell, I got a podcast about it, all right? So, KU and Mizzou, probably the most impactful rivalry in my life. There's so many people around Kansas City on both sides. I love this rivalry. This is probably my second favorite rivalry to Ohio State and Michigan, obviously, because Michigan's my team. But I was so excited for this game, and I was not disappointed. Okay, Mizzou won this game 42-31. Jalen Daniels, he had a good game. He looked really good through the air. He was 18 for 30, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. He looked really good through the air. He found Deshaun Hanukkah quite a few times, 6 catches for 74 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I will say the receivers looked really good for the Jayhawks. Okay, Jalen Daniels looked really good through the air. But if you want a stat that you would have told me before the game, I could have bet my life on Mizzou winning this game. KU had 3 rushing yards. 3 rushing yards. They didn't play that bad on offense. They were still able to score 31 points. But the defense gave up big plays after big plays after big plays. And Jalen Daniels had nothing on the ground. He had like 20, 30 yards, somewhere around there. Not good. Not good. I think if you give the ball to Jalen Daniels late in that game, and they did, I just think it was too late. I think they needed to do it earlier in the fourth quarter or late in the third quarter. Just let Jalen Daniels take over the game. He has that ability to do that. He has the experience to do that. This is his 6th year. He has the legs to do that. Give him the ball. Whether it's in space, whether it's throwing the ball, let him do what he can do. And I think he could have won that game for you, especially on the ground. 3 rushing yards is just completely horrible for KU. There's no reason to have 3 rushing yards, okay? They've got to get that cleaned up. They have to figure out how to run the ball because the key for them to win games is running the ball. Jalen Daniels' legs. He has to be able to win games for them, and he didn't do that. Looking forward for KU, I mean, again, they didn't look that bad, right? Like, I would have them above K-State right now. I think they're better than K-State, which you don't get to say very often. But I think they're probably a top 5 or 6 team right now. I think they have the ability to compete for the Big 12, not the ACC, for the Big 12. They should be good. I just don't think they'll be able to scale against the better teams, against a Baylor or an Iowa State or an Arizona State, especially if they can't run the ball. The defense, again, wasn't that bad. It's just they gave up a ton of big plays. I mean, Bo Pribula had 30 for 39, 334 yards through the air with 3 touchdowns. That was one of the most impressive quarterback performances I've seen in a long time, just because Bo Pribula is known for his legs. He beat KU through the air, 334 yards and 3 touchdowns. Just an insane game, right? He was hitting big plays after big plays after big plays. I mean, Jamal Roberts, 13 carries, 143 yards and touchdown. Ahmed Hardy, 25 carries, 112 yards, another touchdown. That's two guys over 100 yards rushing. Not good from KU's defense. You can't allow that. You can't allow 2 guys to be over 100 yards. But you got to give props to Mizzou as well. I mean, that's impressive. To have 2 guys capable of doing that against a Power 4 team, especially against a rival like that, that's impressive. Kevin Coleman, the wide receiver, they found their number 1 receiver. He had 10 catches, 126 yards, and a touchdown. Bo Pribula has his number 1 guy. And I think that is scary for SEC teams coming up. If Bo Pribula can play like that all season long, they could compete for the SEC. Not because I think that they're one of the best teams in the SEC, because they have one of the easiest schedules in the SEC. They don't go away from home until mid-October. They are at home at Fairfield Field until mid-October. People will have Halloween decorations up. I will have Halloween decorations up before Mizzou plays an away game this year. They have one of the easiest schedules in the SEC. They have a prime opportunity here for Eli Drinkwitz, for Bo Pribula, and for the Missouri Tigers. They have a shot to go to the SEC championship game just because of how easy the schedule is. The running game looked really good. I mean, again, 2 guys over 100 yards. The defense came up huge. Again, they only allowed 3 rushing yards. I know KU, you get 3 yards, you're obviously doing something wrong. But, you got to give some props to Mizzou, right? To hold a team to 3 rushing yards, a team like Kansas, who's known for running the ball, to 3 rushing yards. Give all the props in the world to Mizzou, all the props in the world to Eli Drinkwitz, and getting that defense ready for them. They looked great. They looked like one of the best defenses in the SEC. Granted, it's Kansas, but Kansas is good now. This gave me a headache yesterday. I had friends from my KU side texting me that Lance Leipold needed to be fired. Are we serious? Are we serious? Are we serious? Do they not realize that they were winning, begging to win 3 games 10 years ago? To win 3 games? They beat a top 10 Oklahoma 2 years ago? Did you know that happened? Yes, Everyone knows that happened. And you want to fire that guy who's taken you to bowl games? You know how badly KU wanted to go to a bowl game 10 years ago? That was like the end game goal, was to be able to go to a bowl game, to get 6 wins, to be 500. That program was abysmal 10 years ago. Lance Leipold now has them in a situation to where they wanted to beat Mizzou. They thought that they could beat Mizzou. 10 years ago, that wasn't even a question. They were lucky this game was not played 10 years ago. Lucky that this game was not played. Because, man, there would have been riots. There would have been fights. There would have been so many issues if they played this game, because Mizzou would have dominated for 10 years straight. Going forward, I do like KU again. I think that they're going to be a decent competitor in the Big 12. Maybe not in the top end, but they should be all right. I think Mizzou is going to compete for the SEC title game. I don't think they'll win it because I don't think that they're a top team. I don't think their roster's as good. But if Bo Perbula can do what he did this weekend, they're going to be just fine. I mean, again, he can run the ball. And he threw for 334 yards. 3 touchdowns. Threw it all in the air. All those sets. I don't even have his rushing sets listed on here. That's all through the air. Now, the game that I least want to talk about, that I purposely saved for the end of the review portion of this podcast. The heartbreaker. My Michigan Wolverines fell very, very short of the Oklahoma Sooners. Michigan lost this game 24-13. I wrote my first, because I do these in bullet points on my papers. First bullet point is that I really don't want to talk about this game. But I also think I'm probably going to spend the most time talking about this game because it made me very angry. Bryce Underwood didn't look like anything because we didn't let him throw the ball. He went 9 for 24, 142 yards. Most basic stat line I think that I've seen in a long time. Justice Haynes had a really good game. Decent game. He had 75 of his 125 yards on one play, and that was also his touchdown. Michigan on the defensive side of things looked pretty good. I mean, I felt like John Mateer really could have taken advantage of this game a lot more. There were a lot of moments where he missed a throw where he could have layered one over the top and hit us for a big play. There was another play where he overthrew the guy. We got an interception out of it. The guy was wide open. He just overthrew him. Michigan's defense did look really good. I mean, they felt like they played really good. They got to John Mateer quite a bit. Just they couldn't bring him down. He would just make huge plays after huge play, run out with his feet. They would get those really good design runs that just torched us, man. It just felt like the defense had way too many people open. I mean, it felt like the zones were off. Something was just terribly off. It got a little bit better once Jaysean Barnum came back. I think he's a real leader for that defense, and I think without him, they're going to struggle. Fortunately, he's back, but he's a little banged up. His ankle didn't look great, so I think Michigan just needs to be more consistent on defense, be able to bring down the quarterback instead of just get to him. It made me so mad. I'm really not happy about this game. We had it. They gave us the game, man. It looked like the beginning of last season. That's the issue I have with this. It looked like the beginning of last season, where we just aren't throwing the ball. We're throwing screenplays to our wide receivers who just aren't that good. They're not good enough to make plays in open space. Fred Moore was supposed to be our speedster this year. Well, it turns out he can't even beat out a sophomore for that job. Michigan's offensive line just looked horrible. I mean, there was a play in the third quarter where it was a design run for Bryce Underwood. He kind of snaps it, takes off to run, and then the pulling guard just didn't block the guy. The offensive line has to get better for Michigan. They were terrible yesterday. Absolutely terrible. Not to the level of what we expect from a Michigan Wolverines team. They have to get better. They absolutely have to get better on the offensive line. And the D-line has to be able to bring down a quarterback. If you can get to the quarterback, it doesn't do anything if you can't tackle him. That just makes the play worse, because then he gets out of the pocket. Now the play's broken down. Now he's going to make a big play. You can't allow that. You cannot. You have to take down the quarterback. You have to tackle the guy. For it to be a sack, you have to tackle the guy. I will say, I do want to give a little bit of grace to the defense because they were able to get to John Mateer. They just couldn't bring him down. I feel like if they were going to be able to bring him down, we would be talking a lot different about this defense. I think think Wink Martindale didn't call a great game, but he played a decent game. He definitely got out coached with those QB runs. He needs to be a lot better at defending those, get the defense more ready for those. But it's just that offense was so frustrating to watch. So frustrating to watch. Because we did not let Bryce Underwood throw the ball whatsoever. And it was one of the most frustrating things I've ever watched. The offensive line needs to be better. The D-line has to be able to tackle the quarterback. Michigan has a long ways to go. I think, if anything, we have to get better at receiver. Maybe that's why we didn't want to throw the ball, because we don't have any receivers. I think that's been the issue. I mean, Donovan McCulley, though, you watch him make a helmet top catch. He caught the ball off of Oklahoma's helmet. And we don't want to continue to throw the ball downfield to him. I'm going to move on. John Mateer, he played a great game. I mean, he went 21 for 34, 270 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. He also had 74 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Just a great game from John Mateer. He looks like an absolute stud. He looked like one of the best quarterbacks we've seen in an Oklahoma uniform since a Jalen Hurts. I mean, at Caleb Williams, but I don't think we count Caleb Williams as an Oklahoma quarterback. So you got to be excited. If you're an Oklahoma fan, you've got to be excited about John Mateer. I mean, the way that he was able to not only fix broken plays, but also make plays within the structure of the offense. I mean, he knows Ben Arbuckle. He knows the offense, even though everything's new. It's not really new for him. And I think you saw that because he knew exactly where his receivers were going to be. He knew exactly who was going to be open and when. And the ball was on time every single play. The only time it wasn't on time was it wasn't a good throw. It was always on time. So you have to be able to not only have a little bit of touch on your throws, but also step into throws instead of kind of falling backwards a little bit. I think that's what happened on that interception. That's why he overthrew it. Ended up an interception going the other way for the Michigan Wolverines. I think he just needs to get better at that. Needs to be able to layer the ball over the top, over the defensive backs rather than just past the defensive back. I think he's going to be an absolute stud. I think he could legitimately be a Heisman Trophy candidate this year. He is that good. I called him an absolute superstar in this little bit that I have written down about OU. Also, Deion Burks. It was personal, all right? He had 7 catches for 101 yards and a touchdown. And then he had on that little flick play, short pass, just an absolute great play design, by the way. I think you saw it later in the game, and Jay Barnum was able to get there. We weren't early in the game. Just a rough game for the Wolverines, right? I mean, again, John Mateer, he looked really good. Just has to be able to layer the ball. That's really his only issue. And I think if he's able to do that, then Oklahoma might be what Florida was supposed to be this year. We'll get to Florida later whenever we preview their upcoming game this weekend. But they might be really good. They have a really difficult schedule, but I think they're one of those teams that can just reach up and bite you, right? Reach up and bite one of those really top teams. They got a tough schedule coming up, but I think that they're going to be okay, really. I mean, Oklahoma was really good. The defense looked really good. I know they weren't really challenged much because Michigan refused to throw the ball downfield. But they looked really good for what they did. They stopped the run really well. I mean, again, they gave up the one big play for Justice Haynes that went 75 yards for a touchdown. But if you take that out, then Justice Haynes only had 75 yards. I mean, he doubled his rushing total from that game on one play. So, I mean, give all the props in the world. The defenses, for the Oklahoma defense, they played lights out really, really well. They were able to cover our receivers, even though they're not very good. They destroyed our offensive line. The offensive line was abysmal yesterday. A Sharon Moore team should never have an offensive line that is that bad. And we kept getting hurt, by the way. Our strength coach, maybe he needs to go. Does he need to go? Because we had Ben Herbert 2 or 3 years ago. Never did that happen. Never did a team get that injured under Ben Herbert. He's in the NFL now with Harbaugh, along with all of our other good coaches. I miss them. I miss them greatly. But that is our reaction part of the podcast. Now I do want to make sure that we talk about my team of the week. Haven't talked about him a lot today, but you got to talk about him today. You just can't go without talking about the USF Bulls. It's not the same old South Florida Bulls. Now, is it? All right. They took down Florida. 18-16. They out-physical Florida. They were the better team than Florida on Saturday night. That was an unexcusable loss for Florida, and we will get there whenever we talk about the Florida and LSU game. But right now, I want to focus on my team of the week, which is the South Florida Bulls. They have been the most impressive team out of almost anyone in the country the first 2 weeks. I think Florida State's up there, but I'm pretty sure the only team with 2 ranked wins is the South Florida Bulls. They beat Boise, and they beat Florida this week. A good Florida team. A Florida team that is supposed to compete for the SEC this year. A Florida team that's supposed to compete for a playoff spot this year. Now, if you're looking at FSU going forward, they go to Miami this weekend. That's going to be a really tough game. I think that's probably the battle for the state. I mean, pending Florida State season, this could be the state championship. The South Florida Bulls against the Miami Hurricanes. Who could have thought? Imagine saying that to yourself 5 years ago. That Miami and South Florida would be the 2 best teams in Florida. Here we are. This weekend, Miami, USF. It's a huge game. Another ranked game. I think if you're gonna preview that game, you got to pick Miami. It's hard to pick. It's really hard to pick. They're now in pole position for the group of 5 playoff spot. I don't think there's anyone that's any really close to them right now. Especially with Boise State, they're not playing very good. So James Madison lost to Louisville this weekend. They just took down a really good Florida team at Florida, mind you. Please remember that game was in the Swamp. They went to Gainesville and took down the Florida Gators. Huge win, program-defining win for South Florida. They are now in prime position to make the playoffs. But now let's talk about this Florida and LSU game. So for this, instead of bullet points, I just write a little paragraph about what I think, and I kind of try to make that bigger into what I put on here. My first sentence here is, I wrote down my thoughts for this game once yesterday. I am now rewriting them. The primetime game for the ABC this weekend is Florida and LSU. They might need to change it. Just a mind-blowing loss for Billy Napier. I mean, that's horrible. You were this close to getting fired last year. This close. If your buyout wasn't so big, you would have been out of a job. You answered. That the way they finished last season had me so excited that I put them in my top 10 this year, going into the season. And now they're right back to where they were after Miami last year. Billy Napier's back on the hot seat. And it's scorching. It's scorching. The angst that I felt from my quad box on my projector while watching the Mizzou and KU game on my main screen. The angst that I could feel from that tiny little box was palpable. From the crowd views of the surrendered Cobra, just a sad, sad loss for Billy Napier. I mean, that's not SEC play, right? So, I mean, they have a lot to look forward to, and maybe South Florida's just that good. I mean, has anyone thought of that possibility? That maybe they're just that good. They crushed Boise. They beat Florida, and now they're going to Miami this weekend. What if they win at Miami this weekend? Maybe they go undefeated this year. Maybe that, looking back on it, ends up as a decent loss and doesn't look that bad. Who knows? But you cannot lose that game if you're Billy Napier. I mean, it's South Florida, man. You're at home against South Florida. You're already on the hot seat. And now you got to go to Death Valley, which this year is the real Death Valley because they beat Clemson in their Death Valley. So they're going to the real Death Valley this weekend at night on ABC, prime time. This feels like if you lose, it sets up more must-wins. It's not a must-win, but if you lose, it makes future weeks must-wins, if that makes sense. So I know LSU is really good. My pick is going to be LSU. How could it not right now? But now, if you're kind of trying to look at a positive on the Florida side, Now all the pressure's on LSU. LSU's at home against a team that just lost to South Florida. They're going to be licking their wounds. They're going to be all sad and depressed because their season is almost over now. LSU has no excuse to lose this game. They have the better team. They have the defense. That's two things that they haven't had in the past. Now they have a better offense, for sure. We've known that. They have probably the better quarterback right now. They have probably the better coach right now, which I'm a full Billy Napier believer. And I think if he doesn't succeed at Florida, I think he will succeed somewhere else. But they have the coaching advantage, they have the quarterback advantage, have the defensive advantage, have the home field advantage. I don't see a world in which Florida wins this game. Not now. Not now. And I'm envisioning a world which they do. And I have no idea where we would be going from there. So I'm taking LSU. I think they're going to win this game. I think that they're by far the better team. I'm incredibly disappointed in Florida because I think that they were supposed to be really good this year. This was supposed to be the year that they took a jump over Billy Napier, but that is not happening. Maybe they will. Maybe they will. They have a chance against LSU. They have a really good roster. They have all the talent in the world. We'll see. Now, my next game that I want to talk about is Texas A&M at Notre Dame, 7:30 on NBC. Notre Dame just has to use Jeremiah Love. I mean, they're the better team here. They didn't use Jeremiah Love. Why didn't they use him against Miami? Why? He was horrible. I don't even think he was that bad. He just didn't get the ball. Why would you not give the ball to one of the best players in the country? So I question the play calling, if you can't tell. I question the play calling. This is Texas A&M's prove game. This is their we're arrived game, right? Last year they were home against Notre Dame and they lost. They had a game against Texas that they lost. 2 opportunities to introduce themselves to the country, couldn't get it done. This is their chance. This is a chance to beat a playoff caliber team in Notre Dame. This is their chance to beat a national championship caliber team in Notre Dame. They can put themselves on the map right here this weekend against Notre Dame. I think Marcel Reed is going to have to make a lot of plays, not only through the air but also on the ground. Notre Dame's going to do what they do best, and that's called covering people. That is the goal of playing defense. They're going to cover people. There are going to be people that aren't open. He has to be able to make plays on the ground whenever that happens because they're just not going to be able to move the ball solely through the air. I mean, I think that Terry Bussey and Casey Concepcion are going to be very key players in this game. They have to be able to get open at least time to time so that they can throw the ball and open up that run game, which I think that's one of the reasons why Michigan lost. Like if you're watching the Michigan game, they couldn't really run the ball. So the downfield passing game was not really open. Even if we would have tried, I don't think it would have been open. So just give the ball to Notre Dame, or just give the ball to Jeremiah Love, and I think Notre Dame should be fine. We'll see for sure, though. I mean, I'm picking Notre Dame. It's at Notre Dame. I think they're the better team. I think Texas A&M, for whatever reason, struggles to win games like this, and I don't see a way that happens. I don't see a way that they come out of this with a win. But I do believe Notre Dame is good. I think C.J. Carr, you saw flashes of it against Miami, right? I think C.J. Carr is going to win them this game. He's going to make a couple big plays, and I think that he is going to win them that game. Notre Dame's going to look pretty good going into the rest of their season. Can't go into conference play like I say about most teams, but I think they're going to be looking good the rest of the way, especially after they beat Texas A&M this weekend. Georgia at Tennessee on ABC at 3:30. Game day is going to be there. It's the first time we'll get to see either of these teams in a really big spot. Tennessee's offensive line looked really good against Syracuse. The wide receiver core looked really good against Syracuse. Joey Aguilar also looked really good against Syracuse. But I'm saying against Syracuse. Now they have to play against Georgia. Syracuse almost lost to UConn this weekend, by the way. Did you guys see that? The Fran Brown having them run sprints right after the game like it was Miracle on Ice. I mean, that was kind of impressive. I kind of liked it. You know what I mean? Old school, run some sprints type of coach. I like it. I love it. Fran Brown, I really like. I was kind of off topic, but I liked what I saw from Tennessee. I think the question is, does Joey Aguilar look like a hypo quarterback? Or does he look like a quarterback they got from UCLA right before the season started? Georgia. How good is that offensive line? We haven't seen them play against a good team yet. How good is that offensive line? How good is the D-line? Have they replenished? Can their edge rushers get to the quarterback? Can they get to Joey Aguilar? That's the key to this game. I think Joey Aguilar is the key to this game. I think if he can get the ball to his weapons, I think if he knows what's going on with Josh Heupel's complicated offense, they could be really good this year. They could win this game. Georgia, on the other hand, I think is the favorite. They're my pick to win this game because I think that they have experience in these big games more than Tennessee does. Experience winning big games more than Tennessee does. So I think that Georgia should be able to go into Neyland and take that game, but it's in Neyland. So that does give me a little bit of pause and hesitation to pick Georgia. I think Joey Aguilar, the wide receivers, and the crowd noise are keys to this game. I think that's what's either going to win Georgia the game or lose Georgia the game. Because either way, Georgia should win the game. We will see. I like Georgia. I think Georgia, if they can win this game, they'll be set up pretty well to compete for the SEC, especially with how Alabama is. Although Alabama did look really good. They did not lose to ULM, which apparently is hard for them to do because they couldn't beat them in 2007. So, I do really like Georgia winning this game. I think they're going to compete for the SEC. They're going to be in the playoff again. It's a question of how much do I like them after this game. Do I think that they will be able to go to a playoff and win the playoff? Do I think that they'll be able to win the SEC, or do they just kind of squeak by, kind of not look good, not play their best game, force a few turnovers, and boom, you win the game barely? Then I start to get a little bit worried about Georgia. I like Tennessee a little bit more if that's how they win as well. But if it goes the way that I think it's going to go, and it's that Georgia has completely replenished on that D-line and the offensive line is really, really good, then I'm picking Georgia to win the SEC from here on out. They become the favorite. So I can't wait for that game. It's going to be a huge game, huge game. We got a huge weekend, right? I mean, we just talked about 3 games. We got Florida, LSU, Georgia and Tennessee, and Texas A&M and Notre Dame. So I cannot wait for this weekend. It's going to be really good. Finally, my final game that we have to talk about is Clemson versus Georgia Tech on ESPN at noon. This segment was almost really similar to the Florida and LSU segment, but somehow, some way, Clemson pulled it out against the very daunting Troy Trojans. Coming back from that 16-point deficit took a lot of guts. I think you do got to give Clemson a lot of credit for not folding that situation. I think they could have very easily just been like, okay, well, this season's over. We're horrible. Especially after loss to LSU last weekend. That was a really good response. Really good response. The wide receivers looked really good. They got open a lot. And I think that's going to be the key to how good Clemson can be this year is the wide receiver core, how good their weapons are, how easily that they can get big plays. That's a huge question. But on the flip side, Georgia Tech feels like they're in a completely different mindset than Clemson. I mean, they're going to play Clemson as tough as any team this year because they are probably the toughest team, like not toughest team to beat, but toughest team that Clemson may face all year. I think you just got to let Haynes King do what Haynes King does. Make it close at the end. Just be within striking distance. And then give the ball to Haynes King. Let him do what Haynes King do. All right. The way I see this game playing out is I think that Clemson's going to start out slow like they did against Troy. I mean, we'll see. I think Dabo should at least make that a priority. He's like, guys, we have to start faster. We did this against both teams that we played against. We have to start faster against Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech is going to catch them licking their wounds a little bit. I think they're going to pounce on them early. And then I think late in the game, they're holding off a late game comeback from Clemson. So I am going to pick Georgia Tech to pull off the upset. I think this is the first time all year that I'm picking an upset, which I know takes a lot of guts to pick 1 out of 7. But I think I'm 3 for 3 this year. I'm pretty sure I picked Illinois to beat Duke. I picked Oklahoma to beat Michigan. And I picked Ohio State to beat Texas. I think those are my 3 picks that I made. I'm making 4 this week, though, so we'll see. I cannot wait for this weekend, guys. I mean, again, that's 4 games, and there's so much more that I could have talked about. I just am kind of strapped on time. So again, that is the game for this weekend. If you guys are still here at the end of this video, I know a lot of people don't watch all the way to the end. I know most of my traffic is going to be on these little clips that I have, right? Especially like the last one that I just uploaded, Michigan versus Oklahoma, got 70 views. I mean, it's not a lot, but it's a lot to me. It is a lot to me. But again, if you guys are already still watching to this point in the video and you're not subscribed, what are you doing? I mean, on that on that Oklahoma Michigan game preview, 90% of the people that watch that weren't subscribed. So if you're watching, I mean, if we're about 45 minutes into this, if you're still watching, please hit the subscribe button. Please leave a comment. Let me know what I can do better. I mean, again, I'm all for improving this. I'm very young. I understand that. Let me know what I can do to improve, make this better, a better viewing guide for you guys. I love doing this. I love talking about college football. It's all that I want to do all the time. And all my friends moved away, so now I have no one to talk about it. But now I have you guys. I have my computer screen to talk to. But I love talking college football with you guys. Again, please subscribe. Hit the like button down below if you think it was a good video. If not, leave a dislike and tell me what I can do differently, right? I mean, if you leave a dislike, it'd be my first ever dislike I've ever gotten. I think I'd feel pretty cool, honestly, if you disliked the video. But again, I really love doing this, you guys. I cannot wait to see you guys. I will probably come back next week. I'm probably planning on just cutting this up throughout the week and then uploading videos as the cut up of this. So I will see you guys probably again next week, probably around the same time. And this might either go up today or tomorrow on Monday. Either way, I will see you guys next week. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I cannot wait to watch all 4 of these games I talked about. We are in for another really, really good weekend. This is a weekend where even the casuals are going to be watching. The casuals weren't watching last week. They're going to be back this week with all these big games coming up, big SEC games. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I hope you guys take care. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you guys next week.